All right. So Dmitry Kozlov, if you don't know Dmitry, he's been around our community for a long time. You're all keyed up, aren't you? You're ready to roll. So he is a sporty feller, as you can tell. He and I get confused a lot of times at events because they think I'm him. You know, it happens.
Do you get free drinks?
No, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get free drinks. I don't get free drinks. Is that what it is? This is my doppelganger. No, Dmitry's been working with celebrities and influencers in our industry for a number of years now and built their social presences, built their brand presence really more than anything else. And he's going to talk today about the commonalities between these giant brands in our space that have really elevated above a lot of the other folks and what they've done differently and what he's helped them to do differently. I know that he does Roland's branding, Ryan's branding, Richard's branding, a bunch of other people that we know. And I think he's definitely worth listening to. Frank, you did Frank's stuff, right? Yep. Yeah. So most of the folks that you hear about in this industry that have a really great brand presence, a lot of them have used Dmitry to do that. So he's going to kind of turn you on to what he does. So let's give him an awkward clap and get him started.
Okay.
I hope that really sparked you up.
Keep saying a couple of awesome things about me while they get this set up.
So there I was at the bank.
Well, you know what we can do?
What's
I can
that?
start talking while you figure this out. Sweet.
Yeah.
All
cool.
right. Awesome.
Cool. Dmitry, take it away.
All right. Great. So I've been doing this for probably my entire adult life, and actually before that. So I'm a Russian immigrant, and I had a single mom. So I started hustling pretty early, and I built my first website when I was 14, which was right around the same time that I released my first rap album that I hope nobody ever hears. My dream job, my absolute dream job, when I was 19 in college, was to be able to graduate and not get a freaking job. Anyone else have that dream job? So I was really passionate about that dream job, and like any naive and blindly ambitious young buck, I joined an MLM, and then very quickly joined the NFL club, no Friends Left club. And so I was really desperate to make it work. And so I started studying online marketing, came across a guy named Mike Dillard, started studying some of his stuff. Through that, built my first personal brand and blog, started learning attraction marketing. That opened up all sorts of doors for me, one of which was to start to build personal brand sites for other marketers. So I was doing this through college, and happy to say I was able to graduate, unemployed, not get a job, build an agency full time, and that was just about 10 years ago. We got it? No. All right. So about a year after graduation, I was really lucky and fortunate enough to get introduced to Mike Dillard to actually build his personal brand site. And he had super high standards, and at a time of internet marketers doing a bunch of ugly sales letters, he wanted this thing to look really beautiful, but also convert. So we studied one of the biggest personal brands at the time in the space, which was Lewis Howe's website, who we ended up actually years later redesigning his site. And we built Mike this kick-ass personal brand site that was beautiful, high converting. He mailed it out to his list, and my little agency at the time got flooded with leads. And then very quickly, this excitement turned into frustration as all these people started asking, hey, what theme did you use? What template did you use for Mike's site? And I was like, what the F? Like, this is high-end custom work. We put our heart and soul into it. Like, what theme and template? And from there, we started doing more high-end personal brand sites. We, at the time, did Frank Kern, JJ Virgin, Dean Graziosi, and Ken Clothier, who's here in this room, and a number of others. And after doing this a number of times, I came back to the thought, well, why not? Why isn't there a really great template for this? There's tens of thousands of WordPress themes out there. It's because nobody's got the process down. So we set out to build a software at the time. This was in 2016. What was going to be what ClickFunnels is to funnels. We were going to be the personal brand sites. Tens of thousands of dollars in, And about a year later, we realized that we suck at building software. So we just kept running the agency and launched the agency as Influex. So this was about 5 years ago, coined the name Influex, which is influence plus expression, because of my personal belief that your greatest influence, impact, and income comes through your fullest expression. And we went out there to basically create the process. And we ended up building, I think to date, nearly 200 of these like iconic industry influencer websites and brands, and really ironed out this proven process. And by then we did, you'll see a bunch of them today. So we did like Dan Locke, Lewis Howes, Joe Polish, Mike Koenigs, Roger Hamilton, tons of people, basically everybody except Perry. So he hasn't ponied up yet. So what you'll learn today, it's working, right? Sweet. What you will learn today is we'll go behind the scenes of these badass brands, and you'll get all the insights from these iconic internet influencers to build your own personal brand site. So that's what influence you can expect from this expression is build your own beautiful personal brand site in a way that fully expresses your essence and amplifies your influence, income, and impact, just like we've done for all of these others, and I'm going to give you all the tools on how to do it. Because I believe your brand site is actually the center of your online universe. So because of that, you want a website that drives results, right, in the form of leads and sales, creates premium positioning so that you can actually continue to raise your prices purely through just how things look and are experienced online, builds authority and trust, attracts organic traffic, because what is conversion without traffic? There's no conversion. Gets remembered and shared in your industry, basically becomes the envy of your industry, and expresses your essence, expresses who you are authentically. So we're going to deliver this, I'm still a rapper by the way, through 7 lessons for your fullest expression through your personal brand presence. And all you have to do today is be a good C student, because being a student of these 7 C's, you build your A+ authority brand. The 7 C's are, for a quick preview, clarity, care, credibility, which will teach you how to amplify your authority, how to actually connect and humanize versus supersize your brand, how to create consistent content and get consistent traffic, how to get the return on influence, ROI, and finally, how to make this a fully creative canvas. I'm going to give out cheat sheets after class, and pay attention because we're going to move fast because we've got about 15 minutes here. The brand clarity triangle. When you think about building a brand, there's really 3 brands that are often integrated together, and it's important to make this distinction. There's a product brand, a personal brand, and a company brand. And they all work together to create this brand trinity. So the product brand is oftentimes your sales letter, all about conversion. Company brand is what gives you the credibility in the marketplace, and personal brand is about connection, because people do business with people. There's 2 different options on how to do this. There's when your personal brand is the founder brand, where you're the CEO, founder, or voice, or the entrepreneur behind the company. And in this case, you want 2 separate sites, a personal site and a company site. You want the sites to be congruent and distinct. We're going to go through a couple of examples. What this makes possible is you have a greater deal flow, greater media and speaking opportunities. This becomes your content platform for you as the authority and entrepreneur. Obviously creates the connection to the marketplace and amplifies your company brands. So let's go through a couple of examples. Mr. Ryan Dice, the man who basically owns the internet, according to Damon John, and his partner Roland, these are their personal brands. So this is where they get to express themselves online, and they're like executive and founder brands. While Warham, where you are right now, is like a company/product brand. The purpose of the site is to convert people who are qualified and who we want to hang out with to be in this room. Another quick example where you see what's congruent and distinct, Joe Polish. So Joe's personal brand, Joe's a major networker and influencer, so people actually Google his name as much as Genius Network gets Googled. So this is what comes up, which is his personal brand, and then there's the Genius Network website, which is very similar in terms of style and familiar, but is designed for a different outcome. And finally, there's the annual event site, which is designed to drive one thing, which is the conversion. Another quick example of this is Ari Meisel, a brilliant entrepreneurial teacher, and we built his personal brand recently, which is more of like really fun, playful, artistic, and his company brand, Less Doing, and we're going to go into more detail on these examples. Then there's the option of your personal brand when you are the company. So if you're an influencer, you're a coach, you're a professional, and in this case, it's the same site, one and the same. So your personal and your company brand are the same, and another option is to have a hybrid site where the personal and company are fused. So a few examples of the same. So Lewis Howes is the brand. Everything is housed on lewishowes.com. His products, his podcasts, his content, and the entire business is lewishowes.com. Another great example of this is a little bit different, Dan Lok. So danlok.com, we're going to go through this in more detail so you can learn exactly what he's doing on here that works so well. But Dan Lok owns, I think, 15 brands, 24 different companies, all under the Dan Lok brand. So his personal brand site is, of course, really important because he is the company. And then we've got Jim Do, or Do Wealth, rather. So hi, Jim. Hi, Mimi. This is when you're a professional and you want to be at the top of your game as a professional, financial advisor, lawyer, doctor, and you want a brand that has you stand out among an otherwise crowded industry. And here, even though we've got Jim at the top here, we know the heart behind the brand is really Mimi. So the site is Do Wealth. Yeah, that deserves a clap. And an example of a hybrid brand is Advance Your Reach. So Pete Vargas will be on stage here tomorrow. Advance Your Reach is a company brand that has Pete really all over it. So let's jump into what to do next. So you identify exactly which brand you're building. The next step, it's really about care. So you want to care in your copy because your site is the hero's journey where you are not the hero. The question, because your audience, your customer is the hero, so the question to ask is, who do you want to be a hero to and why? You want to start your site by declaring the problem that you're solving and your purpose statement. And then you want to bring in credibility for how you solve that problem and why you're in that purpose. So let's go through the first example of one of my first heroes, Mike Dillard. So very clearly he says, I help entrepreneurs. So who does he help? Entrepreneurs start and grow the businesses of their dreams. Starts to identify the problem. You have big goals, inspiring dreams, and a lot of ambition. You've probably realized that building a successful business isn't as easy as you'd like. Digs deeper into the problem, offers himself as a solution, and goes into a little bit of credibility there. Another great way of doing this, so we looked at Less Doing, right, makes it very clear. Making founders replaceable says exactly who they help, entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs, build a business that what can run and grow without you. Credibility, Tony Robbins testimonial, and then more detail on exactly what they do and for who. So it's not vague, it's unmistakable when you're on there, who he serves, and if you're that person, then you're engaged, and then brings in the credibility again. So let's go into more detail on credibility. So some more C's. These are the authority amplifiers. So one of my favorites is credibility by the numbers. So we looked at Dan Lok earlier. One of my favorite ways to do credibility with such a small amount of real estate is to actually put a series of numbers of things that make you credible and amplify your authority, as well as then media logos and endorsements. Another great example of credibility by the numbers is, where we got Michael? So Michael Mogill, right, here's his testimonials and endorsements right after the introduction letter, and then some very quick numbers that say a lot without having a lot of copy there, and then again, the media logos. Of course, you want customer success stories. So we look at Ari/Less Doing's customer success stories, which are also in a way celebrity or industry recognition testimonials. And then on his personal site, it's the same, but speaking specifically about RE. We looked at Genius Network earlier. There's a community page. And here's the various formats you can do. So video testimonials, you always want a headline with the video testimonial that actually inspires somebody to watch that. And even if people don't watch it, having them stacked and having the names and the results there still creates a similar psychological effect. So video testimonials, text testimonials, ideally done in a way that, in this case, right, is fun, it's congruent to the design, and then social media screenshots, because that adds even more credibility than actually designing in and pasting the text. So ideally, you have the combination of those, and you have all three. Then on Joe's personal brand, all the celebrity testimonials, famous people saying things about Joe, text, photo, and video in different formats. Another great way of doing this is case studies. So Mike Koenig's does this really well. There is his praise page, which is the testimonials, and then there are the case studies, which is the results page, because what do clients really want when they go to work with you is results. So says the industries he specializes in and literally has a bunch of case studies for each one. Now, Mike does this in a tremendous amount of detail. He's been doing what he does for decades. And a simpler way of doing case studies is on Cameron Herold's site, right? Just company logo. Here are some of the bullets of the specific results achieved for that client. While we're on credibility, media and speaking. So getting on stages, of course, gets you more credibility, and being in media and press gets you more credibility. For Cameron, main headline here is a media quote. Cameron is today's CEO whisperer. Those 5 words from Forbes say so much more about Cameron than Cameron could possibly say about himself. And because Cameron's so good at getting free PR, he has a whole book on it, he's got hundreds and hundreds of media features on his media page. So on your personal and ideally company site, you want a media and press page and a speaking page that does a similar thing but invites people to bring you onto their stage. Now, these days, especially in a COVID world with less events, oftentimes media and speaking are really the same thing. Getting on a stage and getting on a podcast, it's all a speaking opportunity. So you can combine them and make a media and speaking page like we have for Less Doing here. We looked at Pete Vargas earlier and Advanced Your Reach, company site with a speaking page. So it's not just Pete, but it's actually a number of executives or partners in the company that are featured on there. And then otherwise, the page is a sales page for why you would bring them onto your stage. So whether it's a personal brand or a company brand, having a speaking page that invites all the possibilities is something that will help you grow your credibility and amplify authority all across. Next is everything is about connection. So the two key connection currencies are trust and likability. Connect is important because people do business with people. So you want to humanize your brand versus supersize your brand. You don't want to be larger than life out there, but you actually want to come to a level where you can have that connection and people experiencing your site is as close to possible as people meeting you in person. The number one tool for creating likability and trust is the origin story. So we've done tons of origin stories at this point. And when we went to go build Roland's brand, Roland kind of laughed at me and really resisted this. Like, I'm not doing that. That's silly. Like, I've got a great bio. So we got him a couple of glasses of tequila, and our origin story superhero, Patrick Holmes, extracted his story and told his story. For time right now, I'm not going to read his story. I do encourage you to read his, and what will actually happen for you as you look through some of these origin stories of the very people in this room is you'll have a greater connection to them, and you'll probably end up doing more business together. Because bios supersize you, right? They talk about all your accomplishments and how great you are. Stories humanize you and have you understand where people ultimately came from. Next, you create connection through authentic and professional photography. So one of the cheat sheets that I get to give you here is our detailed photo guide. I'm not going to go through it in detail right now, but when you do go get a personal brand shoot, use this photo guide. It's in the folder I'm going to give you. And this teaches you how every picture can tell a story. Couple of examples of this real quick. So Andrea Albright, right, her brand, Stop Denying the Spotlight. Your business authority, your business depends on you stepping into your star authority. So her brand is sexy, it's star authority, it's powerful, it's Hollywood. So her photo shoot is fully congruent with that. We have Alicia Covey, very different, also both of them did like these high-end expensive photo shoots. And Alicia Covey is, there's like this elegant, the whole site is black and white, and then when you hover over, she turns into color. So she's always the key feature, but not out there screaming at you. That said, if you don't invest 5 figures or 4 figures even in a photo shoot, you can get a whole personal brand site done with a couple of casual photos. So Ryan, we had to drag kicking and screaming through this process. He's like, I don't want to do this personal brand thing. So we got a couple of photos of him kind of like in the wild. And so we got Ryan kind of hanging out in the office, some of his speaking and media appearances, built a whole site around that. And similar thing for Frank, literally sent us 2 photos that we had to create an entire personal brand site around. And 5 years later, the site still stands and is still quite popular. So next, to get traffic, you need to create consistent content to give value to your audience, bring them down this journey, and to actually get traffic from SEO and social shares. So let's go into, we talked about Dan Locke earlier. There's 3 forms of content platforms that you can create. There is your blog. So Dan gets a lot of traffic to his blog. It's a multi-author, multi-category blog. Podcast, if you're really good with voice and potentially video. And Dan's also got a number of shows that are called Danflix. Without a content platform, your personal brand site is basically not a worthy investment because you're not going to get a lot of traffic or be able to give people a lot of value. And finally, you want all of this to have an ROI, right? A return on influence. So you want to convert with the right calls to action. There's a number of options for calls to action. You're in a room of marketers, so everybody knows what that means. So I'm just going to share some of the more fun and playful ones that you may not have seen. So Ari has this really unique one where he puts his Voxer directly on there and tells you to send him a voice memo. While a more standard one would be go to set up a call. Ultimately, you know what action you want to drive, so you want to make sure that the call to action is done in all the right places throughout the site. And if you are building a founder brand, then you want the various companies or offerings on your personal brand site for that company. So in Roland's case, of course, there is War Room, Founders Fund, Growth Ramp. His site isn't designed to convert into those things, but if people are getting to know him, then it will drive to those various offers which have their own funnels. And connection that we talked about earlier, connection is also conversion. So on your site, because this is the hub, this is the center of your online universe, you want to make sure that there's a section where all your social media is featured, especially something where somebody can send you a message. So the Voxer thing, Facebook Messenger, because it's a personal brand site, you want to give people an opportunity to connect with you directly, and oftentimes that's as much or more of a conversion even than somebody opting in to your list. Ultimately, what you see in all of these sites is the same structure and the same principles, but when you're doing this as a creative canvas, because the idea of this is to express yourself, express your essence, be totally authentic and congruent to who you are, while using all of these structures for inspiration and making sure that it works. So as I wrap up, I promised cheat sheets, influx.com/WR. There's no opt-in, it just goes right to a Google Drive folder where I've got 3 things for you. One, is a copy canvas, which basically has every single page that you need to build and the copy templates and structures and wireframes for every key page. You've got your personal brand photo guide and your origin story guide. So all the sites that I've just shown all follow this one structure, and now you have it where you can literally go in and plug everything in yourself and make it super easy when you are going to build this, and then you hand this off to a designer, an agency, or God forbid you try to build it yourself, then you can go do that based on this structure. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing your stories and seeing your brands.
And of course, you'll help them with that if they want to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks. Let's give him a hand again. Dmitry, great job.
Thank you, guys.